What is it about people that lose their money versus people that get a lot of money and learn how to grow it and maintain it?
I think getting rich and staying rich are two completely different skills.
Tell
And
me
that
more.
is what is like so often overlooked, because we want to think of just money as one skill, like getting rich is one skill, but the skill to make a lot of money versus holding on to it for a generation or more is totally different. And I think the best way to explain it is like getting rich requires being an optimist and taking a chance and being optimistic in yourself, swinging for the fences. Staying rich is the opposite. It's a completely contradictory skill where you need to be like pessimistic and paranoid.
Really?
So being optimistic and pessimistic at the same time and getting those to coexist is so difficult, and not a lot of people can do it. And you see these in statistics, like the Forbes list of billionaires. There's like 70% turnover every decade.
Really?
Not from people dying, but from people being at the top and then falling out.
Are they taking too much risk at that point?
I think that's the biggest. That's not the only point, but that's the biggest. Is the kind of personality that you need
To get there.
to become a deca-billionaire is not the kind of personality that's going to say, okay, that's enough. Let's cash out and put everything in municipal bonds.
Right.
Like, they're not going to do that. It's more like I've said this for years.
It's the rush of growth,
Yes.
right? It's like the rush, the high that you see growing.
I said this for years that I think Elon Musk, it's one of two outcomes. He's either going to become a trillionaire or go bankrupt. And honestly, I'm spitballing here, but I think it's 50-50.
Did you see this interview he recently did?
Yes,
I think it was
it's
yesterday.
ridiculous.
Where he was like, let's see where the chips fall.
Yeah.
Where it's like $44 billion I invested. Maybe it all goes bankrupt.
Right.
He said, let's see where the chips fall.
It's pretty astounding.
That's ballsy, right?
But here's the thing. Of course it's ballsy. He's trying to go to Mars. Of course he's ballsy.
But he's willing to risk $44 billion in order to get, I mean, it's just crazy,
I mean,
right?
I might be getting these numbers slightly off, but
Yeah.
when he sold his first company in the 1990s, when he cashed out of PayPal, I
Yeah.
think he had like $300 million. And he took like $295 million of it
Put it
and
in
invested
SpaceX,
in
or
Tesla and
in
SpaceX.
Yeah. Like almost all of it.
Which and the odds that both of those companies would go out of business were probably 99%. He would probably agree with those odds.
Yeah.
The kind of person who has that mentality, like if I at age 30 cashed out $300 million, I probably would have put it in muni bonds and gone to the beach.
290 is in the bonds,
Yes.
and then 10 million, maybe I'll like play a little.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's my personality. His is not like that. Same with Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, all of these people. You know, whenever they make money, they cannot stop. And I so admire that type A personality, even if it's not me.
It's more of like a game for them.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's okay with being broke because he knows he can make money again.
I think all those people, Jeff Bezos talks about the regret minimization framework,
What is that?
where with every big decision that he makes, he imagines himself at age 100 on his deathbed, and he wants to have as few regrets as possible. So he talks about when he started Amazon in 1993 or 4, whatever it was, that he knew it was a very low chance it was going to work. But he also knew that if he didn't try, he was going to regret it for life. Wow. So if he tried it and it failed, he would not regret that. If he didn't try it, he would regret it forever. Now, I would say back to myself, I don't have that personality. I think I have the personality that if I quit my job, raised $10 million from friends and family, start a business and it failed, I'd be crushed.
Really?
I'd be crushed. I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I think if you just embrace the personality that
Sure.
you have, like I'm not a type A entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I really admire and I'm glad the people who
exist.
exist. Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure to that too.
Yeah, but back to our original point, that's the kind of personality that almost never knows when to stop. Now, there are a couple of examples. Bill Gates is the best example, I think, of someone who was able to take absolutely stratospheric risks and at the same time, on the other hand, be very conservative in what he was doing financially. So when he started Microsoft, he's taking the biggest entrepreneurial swing anyone's ever taken. And at the same time, he ran Microsoft so that they always had enough cash in the bank to make payroll for 1 year with no revenue, which is like the most conservative way that you can run a business.
Right.
And most entrepreneurs, if they have the balls to take that swing, are also going to manage the business so it's just hanging on by a loose thread. And when you run it like that, you're eventually going to go bankrupt. And so that's why I think it's rare when it occurs, but those are the people, that's why he's been so rich for 50 years now.
It's crazy. So what I'm hearing you say in this is that there's a different skill between getting money and keeping money.
Yeah.
And if we don't know or learn the skill on how to get money and it's handed to us through inheritance or quickly in a certain way or winning the lottery, chances of keeping money are very slim.
Yeah, I think the easier it was to make, the easier it's going to be to lose, the more likely you are to lose it.
Interesting.
I mean, it's similar when you go to Vegas and
Yes.
you're playing with house money. It's money you just won.
Keep going.
You
yeah.
could that money has no worth to you, no value.
Right.
It's so you can throw that around forever. But if you're digging ditches, that money is valuable to you.
'Cause
There is
that's-
literal sweat equity in
Is it more because you realize, oh, I spent 10 years of my time to make this money. So I need to make sure that I value this money because that money is directly related to my life.
Yeah, I mean, at Vegas, when it is house money, it means nothing to you. If you lose it all, like I didn't put anything into making that money to begin with. But if you've been building a business for 10 years, that business is your baby, and the money is, what that baby is spitting off. So like it becomes so meaningful to you.
What else did you learn in Same as Ever, this new book, A Guide to What Never Changes, that really shocked you or surprised you?
I think what's always blown me away, that is one of the chapters in the book, is the power of storytelling, where the person who has the right answer doesn't necessarily win. The person who says the accurate thing doesn't necessarily win. The person who tells the best story and the story that people want to hear is a person that people line up behind and they're like, yep, this is my guy. You see it in politics all the time when politicians can propose really bad policies, but if it's what people want to hear, that's the one who's winning. And the policy wonk who's like, well, according to the data, we should do X. That politician's never going to win. It's the person who pounds the table who's going to win every time on both parties. Doesn't matter who it's from. Barack Obama, very charismatic. Trump, very good storyteller. Like on both sides, that's always who's going to win. But I think you see that in almost every endeavor, in business and media. The best story always wins. I use the example of the book of Ken Burns, who makes these documentaries about history. He's the best documentarian who's ever lived. And he'll make a documentary about the Civil War. It came out in 1990. More Americans watched it that year than watched the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And this was for the Civil War. This is not a new topic. Everybody knows how it ends. Everyone knows what happened.
They know the story.
But he told such a captivating story that you will sit there. It's a 14-hour documentary. And like 100 million Americans watched
Holy
all
cow.
of it. And Ken Burns has talked about what is so powerful in a documentary that's easy to overlook is the background music. And he said that he will literally edit the script so that a certain beat in the background music will match up with a certain word. And
The timing of it.
the timing of it.